Hey everyone, Ivan here. I wanted to give you a demo of how to do debugging visual code with Typescript and Jasmine. So, of course you could deploy a Lambda and put a bunch of, it executes fine, fantastic, ready to go. But of course, when you have to troubleshoot, sometimes you don't know what's going on in there, or if you have like a lot of complex code, you actually do a bunch of console log statements or whatnot. I haven't really been seeing a lot of people doing the built-in debugger, and frankly, I've been using npm run test a lot, and I have not been using the integrated debugging tool until recently. So I wanted to give you a quick summary of how to do that. So this is the TypeScript meme example, which already has a couple of tests in there, so I'm going to use that. And this is in the serverless templates repo. So what you want to do is install jasmine-ts, jump over to the debug tools. So you're going to want a launch JSON file. So create one if you don't have one. And this is going to be Node.js. And under configurations, I'm going to copy one in here and kind of go through it real quick. So in here, basically it's indicating type of environment is Node. I want launch request. I'm going to call it jasmine-ts just for kicks. And you see, basically the program it's going to execute is the jasmine-ts lib index, and the arguments are going to be a config file. So I created a separate config file for Jasmine, and I'll show you that here in a sec. And then you see the other argument it's passing in is the current file. So whenever I hit save that, let me show you a little bit what my spec looks like. So the reason why I have this is sometimes I have a spec for unit tests, integration tests, and then of course one for the current file. So new file, and I'm going to copy this in from another project that I have. And basically this just says, hey, I'm in the spec directory. This is what my spec files look like. I want to use any helpers. So now if I run over to one of my Jasmine spec files, right now, if I was to hit F5, let's actually see this. It will execute all these tests. So jasmine-ts, that's the configuration. You can see the debugger's attached. It started. Oh, and look at that. It stopped on my on one of my things, but we're gonna skip that for now. So continue. I'll show that later. But you see, I ran all my test specs, right? So now, if I do the fit, right, focus on this particular test, I hit F5. It's going to basically run through the test. Now, this is where the magic comes in. So in here, if I wanted to kind of see what's going on inside my handler, so hit F12 to jump into my handler, and suppose I actually, I don't know, it blows up somewhere in here, but I'm not sure where. So I'm going to create a breakpoint here. Breakpoint, F9 is also the breakpoint shortcut. And then I'm going to jump back into my Lambda meme example, and I'm going to hit F5. So that's going to start debugging. And you can see it starts running. And then once debugger attached, you could see that it actually hit the breakpoint. You could see that this is referring to meme lambda. My callback and context is null. My key is test. So these are all my locals. And here's the event that got passed in, right? Query string parameters. Now, if I want to step through and figure out where exactly it's blowing up, all you have to hit is F10. And then if I want to actually step into the execution of this function, I hit F11, or I could go in there and drop another breakpoint. So I hit I think I missed it. But yeah, if I wanted to see the, the actual function execution, I go in there, hit F9, create a breakpoint, and then whenever it starts executing that, it'll do the work. So now you can see that I'm working on this key index, and then I'm doing that. And so I could see exactly the path of my code execution. I could see exactly what is being processed. So now I'm returning. So I hit F5 to just continue. Boom. You have a very easy way of seeing what's going on. Or maybe you just want to do a in here. So I'm gonna F12. I'm gonna get rid of this breakpoint. And then you see I put a breakpoint here, and I want to inspect the exact response. So yeah, I just hit now F5, which is going to execute this file. And then just to reiterate, I have this F here, so it's focusing on this particular test. You can see it runs. It stops on this breakpoint. I could inspect the response. Body slashes are not allowed. Status code 200. So very briefly, you need to install jasmine-ts jasmine-ts, you need a launch config that basically points at the current config file. You could just run a file, but the thing is you probably want inputs to the file. If it's not standalone, right? For example, if you're doing a Lambda handler, you're probably going to want a spec file like this that initializes the Lambda with your expected event. So if you know that this is blowing up in production with a certain type of event and you want to see how it's running through that function, you basically, grab that JSON, plug it into this wrapper, right? Feed it into your function, step through it step by step to see exactly what's blown up. All right, hope you enjoyed this video. Hit me up if you got any questions. I will commit this stuff as is for your reference. Thank you.